One of, if not the worst reviewed Call of Duty game of all time was Infinite Warfare. Fan reception was so bad that for years the trailer was the most disliked video on YouTube. Many of you watching this video probably helped make that dislike bar appear the way it does today. Slowly, as time went on after release, the sentiment from the community began to change. Years later, you can't find anyone with the same vitriol for the game that the comments section of that trailer shows. This game fell so far as to not even outsell World at War, even with Call of Duty 4 Remastered being sold with the deluxe edition. Years later, I sit here making this video with the question, is Infinite Warfare secretly the greatest Call of Duty ever made? Does this game deserve that initial criticism, or is it truly a masterpiece that was never given a real shot? After revisiting the campaign for this game over the last couple of weeks and reflecting back to my opinion on it at the time, I really want to sit down and answer these questions. It's crucial to consider the context of the time in which a game came out. Infinite Warfare suffered because of time and place. This game came across as super out of touch with the entire Call of Duty fanbase. After 3 years of futuristic combat, people wanted another boots on the ground, modern old Call of Duty game. They wanted to go back to their roots, and instead, they got Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Part 2 Space Robot Boogaloo. From zero-G combat to boots on the ground to literal open world spaceship missions to ship combat, this may be the most ambitious Call of Duty of all time, and the one that the community gave the lowest chance at success to. A serious case of wrong place, wrong time. From Ghost's slightly futuristic setting to Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 3, future fatigue had truly set in before the release of Infinite Warfare. Now, in 2013, when they started working on this game, that mindset hadn't started yet. That's not what fans were thinking. And I firmly believe if Infinite Warfare had released in place of Ghosts or even Advanced Warfare, we wouldn't be having the same conversation. I wouldn't be making this video. What a world that would be to see. Inevitably, angry gamers sent a message with the dislike bar, even if they hadn't seen the game or even have the ability to change anything about what had been in the works for 3 years. Before getting off of the ground, Infinite Warfare had lost in the court of public opinion. That's the reason Activision added COD 4. It's because they knew fans would be unhappy. Infinite Warfare is what you get when the film industry and game industry mix. Whether that's good or bad, that's for you to decide. But this is what you get. Many actors, filmographers, cinematographers, and writers took part in this game. From Kit Harington to Kevin Smith and David Hasselhoff, the entire Zombies storyline is just a movie. Film had a huge influence on this entire game. From campaign to multiplayer to zombies, the pillars of Call of Duty. Let's start with the first pillar, multiplayer.
Call of Duty, Infinite Wars, man.
Multiplayer is the letdown of this game. It's a watered down, boring Black Ops 3. Now, when we look back at this era of COD, Advanced Warfare took the COD formula, flipped it on its head, and made something new with advanced movement and gameplay that, while it felt a little clunky, was its own thing and it was different. Black Ops 3 took that formula that Advanced Warfare created and said, cool, let's refine this and make it perfect. Make it polished and ready for showtime. Different, but cool. Wall running felt like a true advancement on what Advanced Warfare had built. Infinite Warfare just looked at Black Ops 3 and said, Control V, copy paste. The way they forced artificial depth into multiplayer without making much of it good. The specialist being watered down versions that don't matter like they did in Black Ops 3. The different specialists don't play different. They don't sound different. They don't act different. They don't change gameplay at all. They just give you a weird weapon or ability. Everything added on to that is just pointless fluff. The LMG dominated meta from Infinity Ward in all Infinity Ward games started here. While the artificial depth of this game didn't start here and it started in Advanced Warfare, here was almost just as bad, with supply drops variants of guns that actually changed the game, not to the same degree as Advanced Warfare, But if you look at the NV4, it wasn't a good gun. If you got the NV4 Flatline, it was a great gun. If you used any other version of the NV4, you were going to lose your gunfight. Like all Infinity Ward games, it lacked balance. And this is why another appearance of a pay-to-win model from supply drops was awful, the same as it was in Advanced Warfare. In Black Ops 3, yes, there were guns in supply drops. They weren't alternate variants. They were brand new guns that didn't break the game. They were balanced. Here, the NV4 Flatline could be the difference between winning or losing a gunfight. Guns that were statistically better and different were in supply drops, but in the actual gameplay, you had no way of truly knowing what gun anybody else was using, what anything anybody was using. It was so bad and artificially inflated that even the score streaks had supply drop variants. Again, you weren't able to tell what they were. The announcers would just announce it as a UAV pack rat. What does that do? I don't know, man. You tell me. The grind to get salvage and attain the guns for free may be the worst artificially inflated grind in any video game ever. Without spending money, you could play for 300 hours and you might attain enough scrap to get 10 variants of the like 200 in the game. We all think COD is money hungry now, but at least you can just buy what you want in the store without gambling for it in supply drops. The only way to get a nuke in this game was to obtain it through supply drops, but then you still couldn't use it without a nuke variant of a gun. And like I said, it's not clear to new players what the different variants do. The maps for being a space game are super bland. This, as well as not having any of the special pieces of gameplay that they talked about in the trailer, is very confusing. During the launch, zero-G combat was something they mentioned over and over again, and yet it wasn't used a single time in multiplayer. This was just a regular boots on the ground, but kind of jetpacky Call of Duty game. Yeah, I guess you can wall run. But take the map Frontier, for example. When you die, your body literally floats upwards towards the roof as if in zero-G. Does this affect the living character or how you play the game? No, not even a little. And while there are some good maps like Throwback and the Terminal remake, most of the maps are almost AI generated in the way that they lack creativity. Most of the remakes don't even play that well. They kind of forget that this game has advanced movement and how that works, so the old maps don't really fit and the movement doesn't make sense. The gunplay feels lacking. Getting a kill in Call of Duty has always felt some kind of way. For better or worse, we all know that feeling. And we all know some Call of Duty games do it better than others. I personally think it's the kill pop-ups and sounds. Infinite Warfare doesn't do much. It's minimal and you don't notice. While older games are loud and a big yellow pop-up that's in your face and you really feel the satisfaction of a kill. The time to kill is also so fast in this game that the winner of a gunfight, it's almost like hardcore. The winner of the gunfight is who sees who first. Now, while I've dogged on the multiplayer a lot, there's still a lot that there is to like in this game. The advanced movement is great. Yeah, it is rehashed from Black Ops 3, but why? Because Black Ops 3 did advanced movement perfectly. And call me crazy, but I absolutely loved advanced movement as a feature and genuinely wish we would see it make a comeback in a more modern iteration. Then the in-game leaderboards are great. In the lobby, you can see teammate and opponent career stats without clicking in and really diving into their profile. You can just see, hell, you can still see a death tracker in-game, unlike in modern CODs. Let's not forget the emblem editor, one of the best features in older COD games. It made one of, if not its final appearance here. And as much as I'd love to see it return, the people using the emblem editor to be overtly offensive means we will probably never see it again. Most Call of Duty multiplayers feel like they do something different, while Infinite Warfare felt like it was all a rehash. Ghost's gunplay with Black Ops 3 movement, and the lack of players even in its heyday makes this the most forgettable part of this game. But that's okay, because the campaign is where this game really turns around.
Call of Duty, Infinite Wars, man.
Campaign is the thing that made people hate this game without even playing it. This game's campaign, while the basic plot is mediocre at best, The characters really drive this mode forward in a way that I would argue has never happened in any other COD. Plot basically breaks down to Earth is running out of resources, and the main enemy, the Settlement Defense Front, doesn't want to let us go find more and take them. The motivation of the Settlement Defense Front to hate Earth and stop us from getting resources is more shaky than a California earthquake. Basically, they say it's because some weird mindset happens where when you grow up that far removed from Earth, you don't care anymore about Earth, and you wish all Earthlings would die. Why? I don't know, but apparently that's the excuse. They could have just fixed this by having, like, a meeting where the two sides come together to have, like, a conversation and break down resource sharing, and then somebody betrays somebody. But instead of that, we just are told that they don't like each other, which isn't great. They could have just made that a little more personal, but no, it's just if you weren't born on Earth, you hate Earth, which is strange. Even the guy who ends up setting off the main piece of plot for the entire game, some guy who supposedly is betraying us, they don't ever tell us why. They never really tell us any motivation he has for betraying Earth and causing all of the problems that he does. So after that, the entire plot is the UNSA wants to destroy the SDF for materials. We never even really see how the people on Earth are suffering without these resources. Like I said, what really matters in this game are the characters. Some of the best written video game characters in any video game ever. Nick Reyes, our main protagonist, is incredible. He becomes captain after the captain of his ship is killed off screen during the Geneva incident. Nick now has to lead the charge against the SDF. From the beginning, you are truly rooting for him. The relationship between him and Nora Salter, his longtime friend who is basically family at this point, comes off crystal clear from a very early on point in the story. Always looking out for each other no matter what, fighting and arguing like they're siblings. They come across as good friends both on and off screen. Ethan, a sentient AI, is a robot that you're genuinely able to care about. Most robots in media you remember are just bots, but Ethan you can actually care for. He is the comedic relief in a very dark and grim story. Omar is a Marine who has beef and tension with Reyes and Ethan that basically boils down to he's a human Marine and Ethan's a robot and Reyes is in the Navy. That's kind of what the initial beef boils down to. But he grows to look out and care for both Reyes and Ethan. Each character is unique and has a true personality trait that makes you care about them. Jon Snow is the main villain, and you literally see him try to prove how caring is the reason the UNSA will lose by shooting one of his own men in the beginning of the story. Admiral Salen Koch, or Jon Snow, shows from the beginning how much of an untouchable, dominant force he is for the SDF, and he is captain of the most feared ship in the galaxy, the Olympus Mons. His direct goal is to defeat Earth and remove all traces from it. While not being one of the best COD villains of all time, he is one of, again, the best written, with Kit Harington doing a great job and seemingly loving the role. Now, unlike a true linear COD campaign, there are a ton of side missions you can select and really slow down the pace of this game. You can take breaks and just walk around the ship and watch newsreels and read character files and truly just let this world sink in. While Ghosts may have done space combat first, Infinite Warfare did it so much better. That often mentioned zero-G combat finally makes an appearance, and the feeling of weightlessness you get in this game is on a different level than possibly any other space game. There's so much depth while being super free-flowing, and the dialogue between characters during missions is incredible, and maybe the best in COD history.
The hell is that?
I think we found E3N.
Indeed, sir. Petty Officer First Class, E3N. Enhanced Tactical Humanoid, 3rd Revision.
It's a mouthful.
You ain't kidding. Call me Ethan, ma'am.
What are your orders?
I'm assigned to Retribution, reporting to Captain Alder.
Program for combat?
Thoroughly, ma'am. Born to kill.
Look like you can kick some serious ass.
Well, now you're just making me blush, sir.
Compared to Ghosts, which is cringy and embarrassing, maybe more than any other game.
He called them ghosts.
And this really happened.
So the legend goes.
Come on, Dad. You don't honestly believe that story's true?
Yeah, I do.
They also worked with real-life Navy and Marines to make sure that the dialogue is sound and realistic. They talk in military jargon a lot and speak matter-of-factly without feeling cringy in Hollywood like Ghosts or most other COD games. And they don't try to explain to you what the military jargon is. They just use it, and they hope you're smart enough to figure it out.
Get Raven transport set for evac. I want our casualties outbound right away. Drop officer, coordinate with engineer, and get us mobile.
Roger.
The side missions in this game are completely optional and don't impact the ending, but there's so many of them in varying quality, but you truly get to decide if you want to rush towards that ending or feel the weight of this world and this war that you are fighting in. It's the only Call of Duty game where the side missions can be completely skipped over. Now, while the quality of some of these missions are below par, flight missions are incredible. And some of the coolest combat in any Call of Duty game. There's no rails to the space combat, and it's incredible. But again, the slowdown in pace by being able to do all this allows for extra character depth. The Create a Class system also returns and matter. Some missions, a sniper is actually an important thing to have, while in others you need a rifle, even so much to the point where the enemies you face change what kind of weapon you want. Fighting robots, you're going to want an energy weapon. Fighting humans, you're going to want ballistics. Little things like that really make you feel like this world is real and that the people making it cared. The world building and set pieces are truly unique and top-notch. The Wall of Fallen Soldiers is beautiful. There's a particular mission where you're on an asteroid near the sun, where the rotation of the asteroid affects the gameplay. When you are on the part of the asteroid facing the sun, you need to stay indoors and in the shadows. And when the asteroid rotates away from the sun, you can finally move and get to your next objective. Now, does the science of that break down a little? Sure, but if you really cared about that, you wouldn't be playing a Call of Duty game. In the end, defeating the main villain doesn't even win the day. We're forced to keep fighting and watch some of our favorite characters die in the hopes of winning the war, and not the battle. Ethan's death causes real pain. Salter needing to finally stop protecting Reyes and continue the mission. And Reyes giving everything for Salter and Earth to continue living is truly beautiful. Even Reyes' death being anticlimactic and not a true hero's ending.
All stations, it's ER-1-2, transmitting in the blind. Shipyard destroyed. Reyes, do you copy? Peter? Nick, do you?
Adds to the emotional depth of this game. And this game truly earns its emotional moments through great writing and story.
I can still fight. I know you can, Marine. We're gonna get you back out there in no time. Brooks, where's that med kit? Let's go! Is that Marine, sir?
Instead of having forced, contrived, and awkward attempts to connect with the player.
We have to go back. Our dad's down there, and we're not leaving without him.
That's real admirable of you. But your father's not there anymore.
Dad, this whole time you were one of them. You're a ghost.
This is a story that even the most cynical person can't be too critical about. Sure, there are flaws in logic, but I mean, COD's just a glorified interactive movie, and we hate it when the story of that glorified interactive movie is bad. And in this case, the characters are genuinely great, and it needs to be appreciated for that. Hands down, this is one of the 5 best Call of Duty campaigns of all time, in my personal opinion. It's the only one to ever make me cry. Multiple times. While the campaign may be great, we need to move on to the biggest, brightest, sturdiest, best pillar of this game. Zombies.
Call of Duty, Infinite War.
On release, Infinite Warfare Zombies had a lot to live up to, and it did in its own way. It was truly something else. If you could detach this mode from Infinite Warfare and have made it its own unique thing, I argue it would have been the best-selling, well-reviewed Call of Duty game ever. I remember on launch it got a moderately high review, but it had the impossible task of following up Black Ops 3, which even I played more Black Ops 3 zombies than Infinite Warfare zombies at the time. Coming off Black Ops 3's super serious tone, this game was a little more goofy. While taking a lot of pieces from Black Ops 3, both good and bad, this mode felt truly unique. This mode, like the campaign, you could tell was truly cared about by the people working. Headed by Lee Ross, they were able to get a celebrity to be part of each of the maps. David Hasselhoff for Spaceland, Kevin Smith for Rave, Pam Grier for Shaolin Shuffle, Elvira for Attack of the Radioactive Thing, and Willard Wyler was played by Pee Wee Herman. Willard Wyler, Pee Wee Herman, the main antagonist of this game. These characters and actors gave each map its own unique feel and identity and personality from the beginning. The entire premise of Zombies was 4 actors being transported into one of Willard Wyler's horror films, only to finally complete the story of the film, and instead of getting to go home, being sent to another one, with Wyler pulling the strings the entire time. There's so many film references and great music playing in different areas of the map. It feels like the world is genuinely alive. Some criticism in newer Call of Duty Zombies, Vanguard, and Cold War in particular, is the maps are boring and samey, with Bad Guy Military Base 1 and then Bad Guy Military Base 2. With Infinite Warfare, you have an 80s theme park, a 90s horror movie forest, a downtown dojo, and a 50s monster movie. And then finally, just a space redo of Extinction thing. That was weird. We'll get there. Each map is distinct and has a different tone while connecting in the main story. The gameplay feels different from Black Ops 3, just enough to still be good. Like, it feels good in the way Black Ops 3 did, but different and its own in a beautiful way. Gun variants don't matter at all, which is awesome. What's good about Infinite Warfare is the game has a high emphasis on player skill instead of just fate and fortune cards and variants. This game also gave us the first super Easter egg ever. Giving us Director's Cut does slowly start to degrade, like an old phone as the season goes on. Which leads us to DLC 1, Rave in the Redwoods. DLC 1 is always what sets the tone for the Zombies season, and it's maybe the most important map in a release cycle. And Rave kind of falls flat. Our 90s horror movie map is unique and tried to do what Spaceland did well. It just missed. There's no central hub. Instead, you have to build a boat to Kevin Smith on this island, which riding the boat may be the most boring thing to ever happen in a Zombies or any video game ever. The layout is sloppy with wasted space and no distinct areas. The 4 elements wonder weapon crossbow is cool and unique, but just doesn't hit. Instead of dog rounds, we get Sasquatches, which is cool. Like, the entire main Easter egg can be done on round 1, which means the challenge of Spaceland is gone. And the final boss, in a bigger twist than an M. Night Shyamalan movie, is Kevin Smith was the bad guy the whole time. And to beat him, you just need to feed soul boxes like you're getting the fists on Origins. And most of the time, you don't even have to worry about Kevin. He's way over there. This boss fight lasts 10 minutes, no matter how good or bad you are at the game, and that's just super lame. Now, Rave mode is one of the coolest and most unique things in the game. Having the slasher only be able to kill you or attack you in Rave mode is genuinely awesome. While this isn't a terrible map, it's not as good as what it could have been, and it's not as good as Spaceland. Shaolin Shuffle is where this game really, truly starts to crumble. The setting and atmosphere is incredible. As we talked about earlier, this 1970s New York dojo, it's incredible. But the main Easter egg sucks, like, to finish at all, even during the kind of okay parts of it. The layout, while better than Rave, still doesn't come close to Spaceland. One of the steps for the main Easter egg is finding different Rat King symbols across the map, but you can only find one at a time, and each of them have like 13 different spawn locations. That's just tedious. That's not difficult, it's tedious, and it's not fun. Kung Fu powers are kinda cool, but aren't useful at all, and the teleporting Kung Fu special zombies are genuinely the worst in any Call of Duty game on any Call of Duty map. The Rat King boss is super lame. None of it's good. Shaolin is rough. Finally, DLC 3 Attack of the Radioactive Thing is one of the worst zombies maps ever. It's everything I hate in a zombies map all rolled into one. It's a ginormous map full of tons of wasted space. 90% of the map doesn't matter. We've got 69,420 different pieces to gather to build things, and has maybe the most tedious main Easter egg ever. Listen to this tutorial clip and tell me if this sounds enjoyable.
Okay, now here is where things are going to get extremely tricky to understand. I'm going to make this as simple as possible, as we're going to do some very simple math in order for you to advance in this next step. Now what we're going to be looking for is an O looking symbol, which is equivalent to a number, which is going to be around the map. You're going to notice they're going to be in 4 different locations that I'm showing you on screen now. So it will have a O symbol, and then it will say equals, and then a number. This can be any number, and it will change every single game. Now there are 4 of these in total. There's one on the door of the gas station that you're seeing now. There's going to be one in the back of the beachside market next to the fridge. There's going to be some in the RV on the fridge, so you're going to need to go and pack a punch, press the button, teleport out to go into the RV to see this on the fridge, and finally there's going to be one under the bridge. So we have 4 separate locations where this O looking symbol is going to equal a number, and these will all be different for these 4 locations. What you need to do is have someone in your game change the color of the map by going to Elvira Studio and changing it using the machine in there. Now what you want to do is have them periodically change the colors. So
the basic idea of this map is 1950s monster movie, and I'm not sure if the game looks bad because of that or because of the lack of budget. This is a PS2 game in 2017. The gameplay is intolerable. The Wonder Weapon sucks. This map's too big to be fun for survival and too tedious to be fun for challenges and Easter eggs. Yet the boss fight is one of the best ever. It's so good, but getting there is so bad, it's not worth it. In the first sequence of the boss fight, you have to escort a bomb while meteors are falling, and they never stop. It's a rush. You're fighting zombies, you're fighting meteors, you're moving this bomb. It's a challenge, but it's fun. Then you gotta shoot different lasers located around the beach at the radioactive thing. And then third, you gotta wait for these other lasers to spawn that you then have to super spy, slide, and jump around and over and through to get to the spot where you can enter the numbers to blow up the bomb. Now, luckily, we have the boss rush mode that allows us to play this a little bit without the Easter egg. But without the boss fight, this is maybe the worst map of all time. Now, DLC 4, The Beast from Beyond, is actually just the worst map of all time. Now, this map was just a red herring for what they were really working on and what they really wanted to do. So they brought back Extinction's Cryptids for this weird moon map, and it's just atrocious. Because the Cryptids, if you guys remember the Extinction mode, are just super fast-moving enemies. What does a game normally do with super fast enemies? Lowers their damage output so they can't just murk you. Well, not in this mode, because the Cryptids have the same damage as a regular zombie, so they 3-hit you, but they're 10 times as fast as a zombie, so they just 3-hit you in a second, and you're done. The layout of this map, that's just genuinely broken. Not hard, not difficult, broken. Now, the layout of this map is similar to Revelations, but more clunky and awkward. But the map didn't matter. The boss fight didn't matter, and it sucks. Like, the boss fight isn't hard, it's just broken. It's the Cryptids, they're just fast. And they make each playthrough a coin toss, not due to your skill, but just because they're insane. This is the only map to ever truly copy-paste a system from another game into the new game, and it is the worst thing to ever happen in a zombies map. What's worse is once you beat this map and the worst boss fight ever, you are greeted with by far the best boss fight in all of zombies history, whether it's Infinite Warfare, whether it's the Black Ops series, whether it's Cold War, whether it's Vanguard, all of it. This is the best boss fight, Mephistopheles. This is where the love and passion of this game went. Fighting this devil in a truly difficult but fun fight where if you make 2 mistakes, you lose, but you know what the mistake was and you want to play again. You always want to give it another go. You have to attack him and watch for his attacks and avoid his attacks while doing these great true Easter egg steps. You're filling soul boxes while standing in a certain area while dodging his attacks just to remove these markings from him that weaken him and allow you to attack him. It is genuinely what the blueprint should be for every boss fight in every Zombies game moving forward. It is truly a masterpiece. In the end, is Infinite Warfare a masterpiece? Is it the secret hidden goat? Is it the game that we all wish we would have paid more attention to? I'm going to let you draw your own conclusion on that. But to me, yeah, it kind of was, but also not really. If you played the campaign and some multiplayer and just played Spaceland, then yeah, this probably is the greatest Call of Duty ever made. But if you really delved deeper into multiplayer and you really got into all of the Zombies maps, it really falls flat a little bit. While the on-disc map for Zombies and the final boss fight with Mephistopheles are genuinely perfect, all of the stuff in between is super underwhelming and downright bad in some cases. Did this game warrant its initial hate? Not even close. This is easily an above average to really good Call of Duty game. And when it did things right, man, those highs were so high. But when it did things wrong, those lows were lower than the Mariana Trench. Should this game be in the running for worst COD of all time? No, not by a long shot. Should it be in contention for the best? That's for you to decide. What should be in contention for the worst? Well, that, my friends, is a question for another video.